There is a tin sitting in nearly every British cupboard right now, forgotten behind the beans and the soup. It costs less than £1. It will keep for years, and it can become 25 different dinners that taste like the ones your mother used to make. For seniors living alone, cooking for one can feel like more bother than it is worth. But Luncheon meat changes all that. No waste, no fuss, no expensive joint going grey in the fridge. Just warm, filling meals that cost pennies a plate. From crisp spam fritters to corned beef hash that fogs the kitchen window with steam, these are the dishes that stretch a pension and warm a quiet evening. Let us count down all 25. Number 25. Luncheon meat on hot buttered toast is the gentlest place to begin. A supper that asks almost nothing of you on the evenings when standing at the stove feels like one chore too many. 2 thick slices from the tin, laid cold across toast still warm enough to soften the butter, with a smear of brown sauce or a spoonful of piccalilli on the side. The whole plate costs perhaps 20 pence, and the tin will give you 4 or 5 suppers besides. There is dignity in a meal this simple. It fed factory workers on their break, and it will feed you just as well, sat in your own chair with the wireless on. Some prefer it sliced thin and folded. Others like it thick enough to bite. Either way, it is honest food, and it never once let anybody down. Number 24. Spam and baked beans turned a single tin into proper comfort across the whole of Britain. Cube the meat small, fry it in a dry pan until the edges catch and brown, then tip in half a tin of beans and let the lot bubble together for 3 minutes until the sauce thickens and clings. Spooned over toast or a split jacket potato, it is a hot dinner for under 30 pence that needs only 1 pan and 1 fork to wash. The smell of beans catching at the edges and the salt of the fried meat carries you straight back to a Saturday tea time. For someone living alone, this is the meal that stretches furthest. Half a tin tonight, half tomorrow, and the beans you didn't use will keep happily in the fridge. Nothing wasted, nothing fancy, and your belly full by 6:30. Number 23. The corned beef sandwich with pickle was the cornerstone of the cold supper. A sandwich so well loved, it barely needed a recipe at all. A slice of corned beef, cut thick from the tin, a spoonful of sharp Branston, 2 slices of bread, and that was tea sorted. The beef crumbles slightly under the knife. That is how you know it is the proper stuff. And the vinegar tang of the pickle cuts clean through the richness of the meat. A tin runs to 4 generous rounds and costs barely a shilling's worth per sandwich in today's money. Many a British childhood was built on this exact plate, eaten standing at the counter. For a senior on their own, it is the supper that needs no cooking at all on a tired evening. No hob, no washing up, just bread, beef, and a jar of pickle that lasts for months. Number 22. Spam and fried egg is the meal that proves 2 ingredients can make a feast. Cut 2 slices of luncheon meat and fry them in their own fat until each side turns deep gold and crisp at the rim. Then crack an egg into the same pan and let it spit and frill at the edges. Slide both onto a warm plate, the yolk soft enough to break over the meat, and there is your dinner for under 40 pence. The fat from the spam fries the egg beautifully, so you waste nothing, and dirty only the 1 pan. It is the breakfast that became a supper, the supper that became a habit, eaten countless times across the years by people who knew that simple done well beats fancy done badly. A shake of pepper, a slice of bread to mop the plate, and you'll want for nothing. Number 21. Fried luncheon meat with mash and onion gravy makes a proper Sunday dinner shape out of a humble tin. Boil and mash a single potato with a knob of butter while 2 slices of meat crisp in the pan. Soften a few onion rings in the same fat. Stir in a teaspoon of gravy granules and a splash of water, and let it thicken into something rich and brown. Plated up, the mash takes the gravy, the meat gives the bite, and the whole thing costs less than 50 pence, yet looks like a dinner somebody cooked for you. This is the meal for the evening you want to sit down to something that feels like an occasion. 1 person, 1 plate, and the comfort of a roast, without the expense of 1 or the days of leftovers going off in the fridge. Number 20. Corned beef and onion piled on toast was the quick tea that working men swore by, and it suits a single cook just as neatly. Fry a handful of sliced onion until soft and sweet, then crumble in a few slices of corned beef and let it warm through, the meat melting slightly at the edges into the onion. Heap it over the thick toast and eat it with a knife and fork while it steams. The cost is barely 30 pence, and the smell of onions softening in the pan is enough to make any quiet kitchen feel lived in. There is something deeply satisfying in the way corned beef breaks down when it is warmed, going soft and savory and clinging to the bread. It was a tea-time staple in terraced houses up and down the country, and it has lost none of its comfort in all the years since. Number 19. Spam, chips, and peas brings the chip shop home for a fraction of the price. A few oven chips on the tray, 2 slices of luncheon meat fried until crisp, and a small pan of garden peas or mushy peas alongside. The whole plate costs perhaps 60 pence, where the chippy would charge you 5 times that and make you walk for it in the cold. The meat gives that salty, fried savoriness you remember. The chips go golden in the oven while you sit, and the peas bring a bit of sweetness and color to the plate. For a senior living alone, it scratches the itch for a takeaway treat without the expense or the journey. Eaten off a tray on the lap with the telly on, it is Friday night exactly as it ought to be, and you made it yourself. Number 18. Luncheon meat soup is the dinner that warms you from the inside out on a cold evening, made from whatever the cupboard offers. Soften an onion and a chopped carrot in a pan. Add a stock cube and boiling water, then tip in cubed spam and a handful of any pasta or rice you have to hand. 10 minutes of simmering and you have a bowl of broth thick with meat and vegetables for under 40 pence. The cube does the seasoning, the meat does the heft, and the whole pot can be made in larger batches to give you 2 or 3 meals across the week, kept in the fridge and reheated in minutes. There is real wisdom in soup for one who lives alone. It costs little, it uses up the odds and ends, and a hot bowl on a grey afternoon is a small mercy in itself. Number 17. Spam and pineapple sounds odd to anyone who never lived through the 60s, but it was a small touch of glamour in many a British kitchen. Fry 2 slices of luncheon meat until caramelized, place a ring of tinned pineapple on top, and let it warm through so the fruit turns sticky and golden against the salt of the meat. Served with rice or a bit of mash, it is sweet and savory together for under 50 pence, the tinned pineapple costing pennies and lasting in the cupboard for an age. It was the height of sophistication once, the sort of thing served when the neighbours came round, and it still carries a whiff of that cheerful optimism. For someone cooking alone, it is proof that a cheap supper can still feel like a treat, that a bit of pineapple and a hot pan can lift the most ordinary evening. Number 16. Corned beef and potato pie crowned the midweek table, a dish that turned a tin and a few spuds into something that fed a family and now feeds you handsomely for days. Boil and slice potatoes. Layer them in a small dish with crumbled corned beef and softened onion. Splash over a little beef stock and bake until the top crisps and browns. A whole pie costs under £1 and gives 3 or 4 dinners, each one reheating beautifully. The corned beef melts down through the potato. The edges go golden and crisp, and the smell as it bakes is pure nostalgia. For a senior living alone, the genius of it is the batch. Make it once, eat it across the week, and never face an empty fridge on a tired evening. It is thrift and comfort baked into the same dish, exactly as it always was. Number 15. Spam macaroni cheese marries 2 of the great cupboard staples into one bubbling bowl of comfort. Boil a handful of macaroni, stir through a simple cheese sauce, or even a tin of condensed soup loosened with milk, then fold in cubes of fried luncheon meat and bake until the top turns golden and crusted. A single serving costs around 60 pence and uses ingredients that keep for months on the shelf. The meat brings a salty, savory bite to the creamy pasta, and the crisp top is the bit everyone fights over. It is rich, it is filling, and it sits warm in the belly on a winter's night like little else. For one person, the beauty is that it reheats without losing a thing. So a small dish made tonight is a ready dinner tomorrow, needing only a few minutes in the oven to come back to life. Number 14. Luncheon meat curry turned a tin into an adventure long before takeaways arrived on every corner. Soften an onion, stir in a spoonful of curry powder until the kitchen fills with its warmth. Add a chopped tomato or a splash of tinned tomato, then tumble in cubed spam and let it simmer in the spiced sauce. Served over rice, it makes a generous dinner for under 50 pence, the curry powder lasting years in the cupboard for pennies a spoonful. The meat soaks up the spice and goes tender. The sauce clings to the rice, and the whole thing warms you through on a cold night. It was how a generation discovered flavor beyond salt and pepper, made cheaply at home from whatever was to hand. For a senior cooking alone, it is a reminder that budget food need never be dull, that a tin and a teaspoon of spice can carry you somewhere new. Number 13. Spam fried rice is the supper that empties the fridge and fills the plate, born of the simple wisdom that yesterday's rice should never go to waste. Cube the luncheon meat and fry it crisp. Push it aside, scramble an egg in the same pan, then tip in cold cooked rice and any leftover peas or veg and fry the lot together hot and fast. A splash of soy or brown sauce ties it together, and the whole dinner costs under 40 pence. The meat goes crunchy at the corners, the egg ribbons through the rice, and you have a proper one-pan meal with barely any washing up. For someone living alone, this is the dish that rescues the half a packet of rice and the lonely handful of peas before they turn. Nothing wasted, everything used, and a hot plate of something satisfying made from the very bottom of the cupboard. Number 12. Corned beef and cabbage simmered together was the boiled dinner that stretched the cheapest of ingredients into a meal that warmed a whole house. Shred a wedge of cabbage and a sliced onion, soften them in a little butter or fat, then crumble in corned beef and let it all steam down together until the cabbage is tender and the meat has melted through it. Served with a boiled potato or two, it costs barely 40 pence and gives a hot, filling plate with proper substance to it. The sweetness of the cooked cabbage against the salt of the beef is a pairing that never grows old, and it sits light enough that it won't trouble you of an evening. For a senior on their own, it is gentle, wholesome cooking, the kind that uses up half a cabbage before it wilts and leaves you nourished and warm. Number 11. Spam omelette folds a slice of the tin into the most forgiving supper there is, the meal you can make in 5 minutes when the day has worn you down. Beat 2 eggs, pour them into a hot, buttered pan. Scatter over cubes of fried luncheon meat and a little grated cheese if you have it, then fold and slide onto the plate, while still soft in the middle. The cost is under 50 pence, and the washing up is a single pan. The meat brings savor, the eggs bring richness, and the whole thing is ready before the kettle has even boiled for your tea. There is no meal kinder to a cook who lives alone, no dinner more quickly conjured from so little. A slice of bread and butter beside it, a bit of pepper on top, and you have eaten properly with almost no effort at all. Number 10. Luncheon meat and bubble and squeak gives the leftovers of one dinner a glorious second life as the next. Mash together yesterday's potato and any cooked greens or cabbage, press the mixture into a hot pan, and fry until the underside forms a deep brown crust. Lay slices of fried spam alongside, crisp and salty, and you have a plate of pure comfort for under 30 pence, made entirely from what would otherwise have been thrown out. The hiss and spit of the cake catching in the pan is a sound that takes you back decades, and the brown bits at the edge are always the best part. For a senior living alone, this is thrift turned into pleasure. The bits and pieces left from one meal become the heart of another, and nothing at all goes in the bin while there's good eating left in it. Number 9. Corned beef fritters. Dunk slices of the tin in a simple batter and fry them until they puff up. Golden and crisp, a chip shop trick worth knowing for your own kitchen. Whisk a little flour, water, and a pinch of salt into a batter. Coat a thick slice of corned beef and lower it into hot oil until it crackles and turns deep amber. Served with chips and a spoon of beans, it is a treat for under 50 pence that tastes of seaside holidays and Friday nights. The batter crisps around the soft, salty meat, sealing in all its flavor, and the contrast of crunch and tender is what makes a fritter special. For one person, the joy is that it costs a fraction of the chippy, and you control exactly how golden it gets. A squeeze of vinegar over the top, and you are right back at the harbor wall. Number 8. Spam carbonara borrows an Italian idea and bends it to the British cupboard with happy results. Boil a portion of spaghetti, fry cubes of luncheon meat until crisp, then toss the hot, drained pasta with a beaten egg and a handful of grated cheese off the heat so it turns silky rather than scrambled. The crisp spam stands in for the pancetta, and the whole dish costs around 60 pence, yet tastes far richer than its price. The egg clings to every strand, the cheese melts through, and the salty meat gives little bursts of savor in each forkful. It is a restaurant-feeling dinner made from store-cupboard staples, ready in the time it takes the pasta to soften. For a senior living alone, it is proof that cheap and elegant are not opposites, that a tin and an egg can make an evening feel a little special. Number 7. Corned beef cottage pie takes the grandest of family dinners and shrinks it kindly to fit a single appetite. Fry an onion and a chopped carrot, crumble in corned beef with a splash of gravy. Spoon the lot into a small dish. Top it with mashed potato and bake until the peaks of the mash go crisp and golden. A whole pie costs under £1 and reheats beautifully across 2 or 3 days. The meat below stays moist and savory under its blanket of potato, the top crisps into ridges, and the smell as it bakes fills the kitchen with something close to celebration. For a senior cooking alone, this is comfort with no compromise, the full warmth of a proper baked dinner without the cost of mince or the bother of browning it. Made once, it stands ready in the fridge to greet you on the nights you would rather not cook. Number 6. Spam stir-fry brings color and crunch to the plate from the dullest-looking shelf in the cupboard. Slice the luncheon meat into strips, fry it hot until the edges catch, then throw in whatever vegetables you have. A handful of frozen mixed veg works perfectly, and toss everything together with a splash of soy or brown sauce. Served over rice or noodles, it is a bright, fresh-tasting dinner for under 50 pence that uses up the odds and ends in the freezer. The meat goes crisp, the veg stays with a bit of bite, and the sauce pulls it all together in one sizzling pan. For someone living alone, the frozen veg is the secret. It never goes off. You use only the handful you need, and the rest waits patiently for next time. A quick, healthy, cheerful supper from almost nothing at all. Number 5. Luncheon meat stew is slow comfort in a bowl, the dinner that fills the house with the smell of something good simmering away. Soften an onion, a carrot, and a chopped potato. Add a stock cube and water. Tip in cubed spam and a handful of pearl barley or lentils. Then leave it to bubble gently until everything turns tender and the broth thickens. A whole pot costs under 60 pence and gives 3 to 4 bowls, each reheating better than the last. The barley swells and gives body, the meat seasons the broth, and a bowl of it on a cold evening is as warming as a fire in the grate. For a senior living alone, the batch is the blessing. One afternoon's gentle cooking earns you several effortless dinners, and there is nothing lonely about a kitchen that smells of stew. Number 4. The toasted spam sandwich turns 2 slices of bread and 1 slice of luncheon meat into something molten and golden that beats any shop-bought toasty. Butter the outsides of the bread, lay in a slice of spam and a little cheese, and press it in a hot pan until the bread crisps deep brown and the cheese runs. Cut on the diagonal, it costs barely 40 pence and delivers that perfect crunch, giving way to a soft, salty, melting middle. The smell of it toasting is enough to draw anybody to the kitchen. For one person, it is the supper that needs no plate, no fork, and barely any washing up, eaten warm in the hand with the steam still rising. It was the after-school treat of 100 British childhoods, and it remains, for the cook who lives alone, one of life's small and reliable pleasures. Number 3. Corned beef hash claims its place near the very top, because no dish on this list gives more comfort for less money. Fry a chopped onion until soft. Add diced boiled potato and let it crisp in the pan. Then crumble in corned beef and press the whole lot down to form a golden, savory crust on the bottom. Top it with a fried egg if you fancy, and you have a plate of pure satisfaction for under 50 pence. The potato goes crisp, the meat goes soft and rich, and the bottom forms that prized brown layer worth scraping for. It fed the nation through the lean years, and it has never once gone out of fashion in the homes that remember it. For a senior living alone, it is the meal that uses up a leftover spud, dirties a single pan, and leaves you warm, full, and content in your chair. Number 2. Spam fritters take the silver medal for the sheer joy they carry, a dish that tastes of the chip shop, the seaside, and Friday nights long gone. Slice the luncheon meat thick, dip each piece in a light batter of flour and water, and fry until it becomes golden and crackling. Served with chips and a heap of mushy peas drowned in vinegar, it costs under 60 pence and tastes like a proper treat earned at the end of a long week. The batter shatters at the first bite. The meat inside stays soft and salty, and the whole plate carries the smell of every chippy you ever queued outside. For a senior living alone, it is a small celebration made at home for next to nothing, No walk in the cold, no waiting in line, just the same golden pleasure cooked in your own kitchen, exactly to your liking. And finally, in first place, Spam, egg and chips crowns this countdown as the ultimate dinner for one, the meal that needs no occasion and never disappoints. 2 slices of luncheon meat fried crisp in the pan, a few oven chips gone golden on the tray, and an egg with a soft yolk waiting to be broken over the lot. It costs under 60 pence, dirty's barely a thing, and lands on the plate looking like the simplest kind of perfection. The yolk runs into the chips, the salt of the meat ties it all together, and there is not a soul in Britain who has not found comfort in this exact plate at some point in their life. For a senior living alone, it is everything a dinner should be. Quick when you are tired, cheap when money is tight, and warm when the evening is long. It asks nothing and gives everything, and the last forkful is always a small promise that tomorrow there can be another. There you have it. 25 dinners from a single humble tin, each one costing pennies and warming both the belly and the memory. Pick just one to try this week and see for yourself how far a little luncheon meat can stretch. If a favorite of yours did not make the list, tell me in the comments below, and do not forget to subscribe for more thrifty British cooking that proves you never need much to eat well.